All right, guys, this is a roof area we're going to take a look at and give you an example of what we're covering. If you notice, this garage zone right here, including the downspout, this is the area that we have of concern. So we have a garage door here, cars coming in and out. And if you notice that the roof planes feed all down into this zone, this is where a lot of the ice is going to build up. So we're going to go ahead and show you why and how we're going to design this. Okay, the first thing we want to do is make sure we know where our downspout's located. So if you notice our downspout, right here, we want to make sure that's covered. We also want to make sure that we have the gutter covered. So we want to cover the gutter all the way over. It comes up and we're going to hit this little eyebrow on the eave. So that's all covered. Now we also want to make sure the valley is covered. We do get some questions on, well, how far up the valley should I go? And one thing to talk about with that is the depth of your eave. So your eave sits up in there. And if it measures 2 feet, you probably ought to multiply that by 3 and go 6, maybe even 8 feet up the valley. So I might take that 8 feet. The next thing I want to cover is the roof edge. Now, one thing to consider on the roof edge is where the cold zone is. And again, the cold zone is where the roof meets with the wall barrier of the house. I'm outlining this in blue because that's generally the area where the cold zone is going to be. If you notice the wall over here next to the garage, if I were to draw a straight line up from that into the roof, that's roughly where the cold to the warm part of the roof is going to transition. And your heat cable loops need to come up past that point, like you see me doing here. So that is roughly where I want to put my heat cable zigzags. These are probably not exactly proportionate to where they need to be, but this should give you a pretty good idea. I'm going to go ahead and erase those blue areas just so they're out of the way. I may also put a loop right there on the corner just so it looks like it's a complete system. So that's generally where I'm putting all of my heat cable. If you notice a couple things, I'm just going to give you a few tidbits of information on some areas where people do put heat tape but probably don't need it. And that would be over in this zone right here. If you notice that part of the zone, there is no roof feeding it with water. So if your cold zone is right here and you don't have anything coming down from above it, you're not going to get much of any ice. So that's going to be a minimal concern area. Let's go ahead and erase that. Some other areas that you may want to consider is if you had a dormer or something sitting on here. Let's draw one in. So let's say we had a dormer sitting on the roof right here that came back in. If you had a dormer, you might actually take some heat cable and want to continue up and around the back of the dormer and then come down the other side. So sometimes we get a lot of ice buildup around these areas and they leak into the home. So heat tape right there, channeling the water off the house, is probably not a bad idea. The concept we're looking at here, just so that I can kind of finish this up and tell you what we're trying to do, is any of the water on the roof here has to escape. It wants to get to the ground. What we need to do is give it a pathway to get down to your end point, which is the bottom of the downspout. Everything has to channel down this downspout to the ground. Make sure you give it a solid pathway from the beginning, whether it's up here in the corner, in this valley, anywhere in there, channel it to the downspout. So generally, that's what we're going to try and do. Cover your areas so you're past your warm wall points. Take the valleys deep enough so that you are past your warm wall point, and make sure you cover your downspout right here. If your downspout takes it further in the ground, give yourself an extra 4 or 5 feet to go in there so you can get the water down below the frost point. Hope this has been helpful, and we'll go for some more examples and hopefully give you some more ideas that might be similar to your roof.